Hello, and welcome to the poor soul who has to waste their time to watch this video in order to give me a grade. My name is Yezin, and today for my individual project, we're going to be looking at 25 different video game mentors and ranking them on this graph based off how well they would be as K-12 public school teachers. Now, what makes a good teacher, really? I don't really think I'm qualified to tell you that, because growing up, I was the kid that got in a lot of fights with his teachers and more often than not got sent to the principal's office. So in order to give you a good insight as to what is a good teacher, I decided to conduct some interviews and do some research on the matter. After performing an interview with Dr. Hayward, I came to the following conclusion about what makes a good teacher from an actual professor. A good teacher should do 4 things. They need to foster a good learning environment. They need to inspire a growth mindset into the teacher. They need to have an understanding of the teacher, and they need to make the content they teach worthwhile. So there are 3 things that go into making a good learning environment. Number 1 is a theory called self-determination theory. This is a theory that Dr. Hayward aspires to greatly and has talked about immensely in class, and for good reason. The self-determination theory has 3 components to it: autonomy, competency feedback, and a sense of belonging for the students. And all of these help foster an intrinsic motivation. The second thing that helps foster a good learning environment is a theory called the expectancy value theory. Now, this theory is what it sounds like. It basically states that students are more likely to put in more effort if they believe that the behaviors or their expectant behaviors are going to have a higher probability of success, or there's a higher value to it. So you increase the probable value of their behaviors, the more likely they're motivated to actually want to learn and to actually want to foster these good behaviors. And one more thing that goes into this whole building a good learning environment is creating a sense of flow. Now, Professor Csikszentmihalyi said that flow theory is what really helps build that immersion and overall learning for a student. If the content they're learning is hard, but just not hard enough where they're actually able to feel like they're doing something, they're actually able to, the competency reaches the difficulty, then students enter a flow state and students are able to be more immersed in their learning. The second thing that makes a good teacher is the growth mindset. Now, this is a little bit vague, so bear with me for a second. What I really mean by growth mindset is 2 things. Number 1, they're able to foster a growth mindset in their students. Research has shown that students who feel like their abilities and the abilities of the people around them are fixed, then they fall into learned helplessness and don't want to grow and don't want to succeed. They don't end up succeeding. Versus students who have a growth mindset about things. They believe that their abilities are not fixed and they have a goal towards mastery. They take failure not as a personal failing, but just as a minor setback and are able to move forward. They're better likely to succeed both academically and in their future. But this doesn't just apply to students. Teachers themselves have to have a growth mindset, and Professor Hayward herself mentioned the fact that teachers sometimes can have a bias towards their students, and they need to be able to grow and learn from their students as well. If you have a expectation of what a student's ability could be, that can lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you have to keep an open mind about what a student is capable of at all times. All right. Third thing that Dr. Hayward really values is making content worthwhile. And this is something that we talked about in class, the fact that we don't have a lot of homework, but we do have is projects that mean something. If you make the work mean something, then that helps students stay more active, stay more engaged, and stay more motivated to actually want to succeed and want to learn. Now, something that goes along with this making content worthwhile is the different learning theories that we talked about in class. For example, a behaviorist learning theory, very reactionary, very just teaching as behaviors to things, doesn't really foster a lot of, higher level thinking. It's good for basic needs, but it doesn't foster a lot of high level thinking. And this is where I think something like a quick math exam that we used to do in 3rd grade, the time exam, you have to do the 0 times 0, 1 times 1, and do it as quickly as possible. That just kind of teaches you reaction to things, but I don't think it really does higher level learning. Versus a more constructivist approach to learning, like Piaget, where you're able to take different aspects of, like the dog example and the cow example that Professor Hayward talked about in class. A constructivist person would be able to look at another animal and be able to incorporate it into their knowledge. They'll be able to actually form these different hierarchies and be able to construct their own worldview. I talked about this in my God of War game, how the more you progress and the more you learn, the higher level functioning and the higher level learning you're able to apply to the rest of the world. You're able to experiment and mix and match and see what's going on. And I feel like if you're able to do more constructivist learning theories and you're able to inspire that more in your students, then that is a hallmark of a good teacher.
I feel like when I said the word time, I said timetable.
And the last thing that I want to talk about is not necessarily content related, but is more behavioral related. And it goes really well into the project, but also into something that Dr. Hayward said, that a good teacher should have empathy towards their students. They should be able to understand their students. Now, something interesting that she mentioned before on a more like pedagogical level is the fact that a teacher may have one lecture, but 72 students with varying degrees of motivation and varying degrees of knowledge. So in order to be able to understand what each student needs is a very vital asset for a teacher to have. But on a deeper level, teachers should have empathy towards their students. Teachers should be able to understand and be flexible towards the students' needs, because especially on a more high school level where kids are learning and maturing and they're finally like entering the first stages of adulthood, even though they're really teenagers, it's a hard time. And we've all had teachers that are like, your mother could have died, and they'd be like, well, you should have done the homework at the funeral. And that sucks. So I think a good empathetic teacher fosters a healthy learning environment. And studies have shown that empathy, rather than like academic success, is more, or at least students report higher levels of success with a more empathetic teacher versus a teacher who's like maybe very good at whatever they do. So that stuff sticks with students. That's this kind of stuff that makes a student want to like actually learn and make a student actually want to come to class and excited to learn about what, even if it's the most boring subject in the world. If the teacher is able to be a nice, understanding person, a student's gonna want to show up.
Oh, your mom died?
Bro,
Should have done the work.
Should have done the work at the funeral. It's tough. What do you want me to say? You should have given me a note. You should have given me a 5-week notice that your mom was gonna die. I can't just push the whole exam back for you.
That wasn't my fault. Your mom got into a car accident.
Yeah, I can't shift my whole schedule for you.
Oh, this is a bit alright.
Bro, I've heard horror stories from people. With that said, it's time to go into the fun part of the video where we're gonna take all those learning theories, we're gonna use all that, we're gonna dilute it down into the hard science of figuring out where these fictional pixelated video game characters would rank based on this. Now I'm gonna explain the compass a little bit. So it's 4 quadrants. It's like kind of like a political compass, but instead of like conservative, liberal, blue and white, I really don't know what the political compass looks like, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's gonna be ranging from effective teachers to non-effective teachers. Now what I mean by effective in this instance is that how well do they give the content that is necessary for the students to succeed. That's why I kind of did that in the beginning. And we're also gonna rank it because these are, again, fictional, so a lot of video games characters fight. We're gonna rank it based off like not strict to like strict and like kind of abusive. So these are the parameters we're working with. To kick things off, we're gonna start off with one of my favorite characters of all time, Kratos from the God of War series. I'm gonna put him in the effective and strict category because he was a general in Sparta and he did lead a lot of people, but he's also just like really mean and kind of yells at his son a lot, and he's teaching his son how to like kill people. So, like, I don't know how I would feel if my gym teacher decided to just beat me with a, dodgeball because I wasn't really running the mile fast. But I will run that mile, so he is effective. Bam, Kratos. Number 2, Michael from GTA 5. Michael DeSanta. Again, very effective teacher. Takes Franklin under his wing. Teaches him all the things he needs to know, like murder and drug trafficking and theft and assault and all the fun stuff like that. So again, like, teaches Franklin what he needs to know, and in fact, in like a GTA Online DLC, we see that Franklin has managed to make something of himself and make his own criminal empire. So clearly, Michael was an effective mentor. But again, I don't really know how I would feel about a chemistry teacher telling his kids how to make Coke. I just feel like that's not a good academic learning environment. Number 3, Bo Raicho from Mortal Kombat. Now, he's the one that teaches Liu Kang and Kung Lao how to fight, and considering Liu Kang is like the chosen one, I'd say he did a pretty good job, but he's teaching them how to like fight to the death, and he's like drunk all the time. You can't drink in front of kids, I think. I don't know. I was homeschooled, so like my teachers technically drank in front of me. That's not true. They didn't do that. I went to a public school. Number 4, Jiraiya Sensei. My boy, Jiraiya. The legendary Sannin himself from Naruto. Now, the thing is, Jiraiya is actually a very... I kind of debated between putting him into perfect versus effective, like into this actual category. The thing is, he teaches Naruto a lot about what he needs to know, and every single person he's ever taught in the show becomes like one of the most important characters in the show. They're just all heavy hitters. And he teaches like Naruto his like signature move. The thing is, in like the first time we see Jiraiya, he only agrees to teach Naruto because Naruto will like turn into like harem girls, and Naruto's like 12, which is kind of weird. And then he like chucks him off a bridge. Now granted, chucking him off a bridge like worked out. He was actually trying to teach him something. But like, I don't know how I'd feel if my math teacher decided the best way to teach me calc was to just try to like make me to dodge his car or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Number 5, El Muallim from Assassin's Creed 1. Now again, so this is the theme with this whole region right here. These are the teachers that you will learn something from them, but it'll feel like boot camp and you'll want to die. And that's kind of what happens here. His literal title is Mentor in the game, and he teaches the main character, Altair, all he needs to know about being an assassin, which again, is like, that's what a teacher wants to do. They want to teach their students stuff that's going to help them succeed in their chosen profession and in their life. But again, he's teaching this guy how to kill, and then he also betrays Altair. Alright, for this next category, these are the not effective teachers and the strict abusive teachers. So these are not really teachers. These are more like the teachers that got fired because they kept like throwing desks at their students. Now Darth Vader was in charge of the Grand Inquisitors, but literally thought that they were useless, so gave them like the most basic of training and kind of just used it as an excuse to beat them all up. And in the Force Unleashed game, he trains Starkiller to become like the greatest weapon ever, but like, again, is very abusive towards him and doesn't really care about him and like tries to kill him multiple times. So, no bueno. I don't think he's a good teacher. Number 2, Megatron, the big bad from the Transformers. Optimus Prime's murder soulmate, has a legion of people. Again, he's like a general of the Decepticons, but he doesn't really care about them. He just kind of sees them as servants, and you notice that very quickly with Starscream, the person like right underneath him. That's the person he'd be most a mentor to, but like constantly ridicules him, constantly like manipulates him, beats him a lot, and fully knows he's incompetent. Starscream fully knows Megatron fully knows Starscream is incompetent and does not care. Likes it that way, actually. Numero tres, Dr. Wily from the Mega Man series. Now, Dr. Wily was a good guy, like I said. Some of these teachers may have been good. Darth Vader was a good guy before. But he turns evil and then decides to build a ton of robots to take over the world. And he is basically the father of these robots and should be mentoring them, but kind of just sets them off to kill you and doesn't really care about them. And I don't think a teacher should be, in charge of students and then just telling them to go run around while, like, he chucks rocks at them. I don't think that's a good gym teacher teaching kids how to play dodgeball. You know what I'm saying? Number 4, GLaDOS from the Portal series. Now, GLaDOS is a pseudo mentor. She's not really teaching you anything. I mean, she is the one telling you how to progress through the level. But in Portal 1, she is motivated by science, but really is just trying to kill you. And then in Portal 2 has through shenanigans, decided to not hide it and is trying fully to kill you. So, you know, I don't. No, I'm not gonna just don't murder students. Bad teacher.
Abusive side.
I mean, you're right. After deliberation, I realized that I should actually kind of like focus on the compass. So I'm gonna put it here. I kind of just use these as quadrants, but Gladys is way more abusive because like she is actively trying to kill you. Number 5, Batman. Twist, but you didn't see that one coming. Now, there is some debate. You could say that Batman is an effective teacher, and I would listen to you and then ignore you, because Batman takes these orphans and then teaches them how to fight, but like pretty much just beats them up until they learn, and while they may be good fighters, a lot of them die anyways. So it's like, if you're teaching these guys to fight to not die, and then they die, it's like, are you really doing what you're supposed to be doing? You know what I'm saying? Number 1 on this list is Dumbledore. Now, I'm gonna get slack for this as well, but I think Dumbledore is a truly awful teacher. And they kind of explore this in the 7th book and in some of the games, because Dumbledore's whole role is to just get Harry out of trouble and to kind of just confuse him a little bit so Harry does what he needs to do. Doesn't really teach Harry anything, just kind of drags him by the back of his neck and is like, alright bud, let's go. And because of that, sending off this like child to go fight wars, I wouldn't really count that as someone who values supervision. Number 2 is Kakashi from Naruto. Kakashi Sensei was a good teacher in the beginning. He taught his students very valuable life lessons, but the thing is, his students very quickly eclipsed him in power, and he kind of at some point, I think in one of the arcs, just fully decided to favor one of his students over the other. So I don't think favoritism is a good trait in teachers, but he does, all his students become, like Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura do become like some of the most powerful ninjas, if not the most powerful ninjas. It's just like, it's like he becomes their co-worker instead of their mentor at a certain point. So it's like, is he really an effective teacher? You know what I'm saying? Number 3, Sully from the Uncharted series. Now, Sully's main role is to teach the protagonist, Nathan Drake, how to become a very effective thief. And Nathan Drake is a very effective thief. It's just that majority of the time, he's just off doing stuff on his own. Now, granted, a teacher shouldn't be holding the hand of their student all the time, but it's like, it doesn't sound like he did that much in the beginning either. It does sound like a lot of this was just like trial and error and would guide him along and get him out of trouble if it was really bad. So Nathan did learn a lot, but I don't really value a teacher whose main method of teaching is to just kind of see what happens and then course correct later. I feel like you should like give feedback as the student learns, but what do I know? I'm not a thief. Last but not least is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, Obi-Wan is a special case. He doesn't really fall under that category that I talked about earlier, because it's not really his fault that he's not an effective or not a strict mentor, because he wasn't really supposed to be the one to mentor this guy. So it's kind of unfair, but that is kind of the cards you're dealt with, and that is what we have to deal with. He does teach Anakin all the stuff he needs to know. He becomes one of the most powerful Jedis in the history of the Star Wars universe, but he doesn't really like curb any of Anakin's bad behaviors. He's not really like the strict father figure that Anakin needs. It's not like breaking new ground, but he's more of like a brother to Anakin, and because of that lack of like a hard stance on any of Anakin's actual like shenanigans, it led him to be Darth Vader. To kick things off, I think we're gonna start off with Raiden from the Mortal Kombat series. Unlike Bo Raicho, who actually taught two of the students how to fight, Raiden doesn't. He just kind of finds people who can fight and then like teleports them to the Mortal Kombat and like gives them like very brief like a history lesson, and then doesn't participate because he's a god and gods can't participate. So it's like you're literally just plucking people off the street and it's like, go fight. It's like you're not teaching them anything, and then you kind of just watch from a distance. Number 2 on this list is Winston from the Overwatch series, the big monkey man. what Winston does is he does save the life of one of the Overwatch characters, Tracer, and he's very smart. He's a very smart monkey boy. The thing is, again, doesn't teach anyone anything. Like, yeah, Tracer is his mentor. Like, he's a mentor to Tracer. But it's like she kind of is already a grown woman and like kind of does what she wants. Like, she's more of like a older brother figure than like a mentor. So it's like bad monkey. Peter Parker, specifically Peter Parker from the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. So it's tough because we know that he did teach Miles a lot of things. So you could make an argument that he's an effective teacher. The thing is, he didn't have someone to mentor him, so he doesn't really know how to mentor Miles other than just like come watch. And then in the game, he's out of the country the whole time. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not even there. Like, what am I paying you for? You're not even teaching your students. What am I paying you for? Number 4 is the old man from the original Legend of Zelda. It's dangerous to go alone, take this. And then you never see him again. What lesson is that? What are you how'd you get into this school? Who are you? Why are you so old? Why are you in a cave? I don't trust a man who just lives in a cave. Maybe there's a reason he's not near a public school. And then number 5 are all of the Pokemon professors. Now, I know some of them have variation, but they're all the same flavor of useless. And the fact that they kind of just tell you, these are Pokemon. Here's one. Go out in the world. That's it. That's like imagine you're in like a driver's ed, and the teacher's like, that's a steering wheel, that's a gas pedal. Go on the highway. What? What are we doing here? You should know a little bit better than giving an 11-year-old a monster that can fight God and tell him to go out into the world. Even if it's not for the safety of the child, the safety of the people. You know how many people I've robbed in Pokemon? Because I just beat them with the better Pokemon? Unfair. So now that we've covered all the outliers of video game mentors, we're going to enter the box of perfect, as I like to call it, this little centric area right here, and discuss the professors or mentors that are actually good teachers and would do well in a K-12 public school kind of setting. Number 1, Alfred. That's right, Batman's butler is a better teacher than Batman, the world's greatest detective, because Alfred is the one who taught Batman everything. Alfred's also the one to stand up to Batman because the good teacher understands when his students are doing something harmful to themselves. And he's the one that comforts all the orphans, Nightwing, Red Hood, Robin, Damien, all the other orphans that this big orphan is hurting and scaring. They're the one that they go to. He's the one that they go to. So, Dr. Octopus, specifically is Dr. Octopus from the PS4 Spider-Man game. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is Doc Ock, the bad guy, a better teacher than Peter Parker? 2 reasons. 1, because he actually inspires Peter Parker to continue his goal of helping people. He assists Peter in anything he does, and he's actively supportive and giving him competent feedback. Peter always comes in with new ideas, and they test it right away, and Dr. Octopus gives him great feedback and a sense of belonging. That goes into all of the self-determination things that we talked about, and he has a growth mindset towards Peter. He wants to succeed, he wants to help. Now, granted, he does get a little crazy at the end of the game, so that's why I said I should have specifically said Dr. Octavius and not Doc Ock, but again, my video, so my rules. Number 3, Aizawa Sensei from My Hero Academia. Now, Aizawa is a literal high school teacher, like that is his actual occupation, and he does a great job of it. Throughout the show and throughout all the video games, we see instances of him not only giving like good, fair academic instruction to all of his students, but he gives specific personalized ones. He has 4 students who fail his exams, so he personally tutors them throughout the summer. He has another student who doesn't know if she can become a superhero, and he gives her a specific goal to come to and to keep being motivated and stay intrinsically motivated. He knows how to motivate his students, and he knows what will motivate them, and he is just a good guy. Number 4, Master Splinter from all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. Every time we've seen Master Splinter, He's just like the guy. Like, he's the GOAT. I know he's a rat, but he's the GOAT. He teaches Michelangelo, Leonardo, Raphael, and Donatello all they need to know: how to live life, how to survive, and also how to be good people. He names them after Renaissance artists because he wants them to be intelligent as well as good fighters, and he wants them to be kind people. He also knows his students. He gave all of them individual weapons that suits their specific needs. Michelangelo is given nunchucks because he needs to learn how to focus. If you don't focus with nunchucks, you hit yourself. He gave Donatello a simple bow staff because Donatello is the techie one and needs to learn how to be more simple. He gave Leonardo the swords. You know, they're very dangerous weapons, and so he needs to learn how to be a peaceful fighter even with dangerous weapons. And he gave Raphael the size for the same reason, but he also gave it to him because he knows that they're less stabbing, slashing weapons, and he needs to be more precise with them and how they use it. He can't just be this big ball of fury. So a teacher who not only understands his students, but gives them the tools to learn on their own, A1. A1 teacher. And number 5, we have Doc Lewis from the Punch-Out series, Little Mac's trainer. Now, this is a trainer who knows how to get his student motivated. This is a teacher who knows how to give the goal that his student needs to... This guy's mastered the expectancy value theory because he's telling Little Mac, if you put in your effort, you can expect to be world champion. World champion's a high value, and he sets this in motion. He wants Little Mac to be a good fighter, and he does. Little Mac becomes the greatest fighter in the world. He becomes the world champion, and he does that because of Doc Lewis's teachings. Hire this man immediately. And last but not least, the greatest teacher in all of video games is the Xbox 360 Minecraft tutorial level. This beautiful, ingenious piece of coding has literally taught people how to play the game from the jump. It has a little area where you can learn how to mine. It has an area where you can learn how to craft. It teaches you basics of redstone. It teaches you hunting. Teaches you fishing. It's in a safe environment, away from mobs. It teaches you the basics of mobs. It teaches you everything you need to know. It gives you high value. It tells you what you should expect and gives you a value because of it, teaching you how to craft. It provides a good learning environment. Minecraft is peaceful as heck, super peaceful, good for learning. It promotes intrinsic motivation because Minecraft doesn't have an end goal. You just want to play. There's nothing to do but to play because of how you want to. It is a great level. It teaches you all the basic learning theories, behaviorism, how to react to certain things, and you're literally constructing things. How more constructivist can you be? Top 10 number. This guy's a top 5 teacher of all time, and he ain't number 5, 4, 3, or 2. Okay, hire this man. You know what? Let him be the principal. Actually, this is the principal right here of the school that we're building. This is the principal. In conclusion, a good teacher, based off of the stuff that we have learned in class, should be able to do the following things: provide a good learning environment, be attentive to the needs of their students, make sure that the work they do matters, and keep an open growth mindset above all else. They should do this by instating a flow state in as much of their classroom as they can, making sure that the work that they do either helps create a constructivist mindset or a behaviorist mindset at the basic level, but they should aim more towards constructivist. They should be attentive and empathetic to their students' needs. We've seen in the study that self-reporting success of students is more reliant on a teacher's empathy above all. And they should value autonomy and belongingness and competency. You should be giving good feedback to your students so they're able to grow. And above all else, foster intrinsic motivation so students want to learn by themselves. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is my last individual project, and I'll be signing off. Bye.